I've been working on Dark Messiah for God knows how many weeks in a row, so I decided to take a little break, and for this diary entry, we're actually going to talk about the global animation base that I've been working on for Gary's mod. I'm pretty sure only a few people outside of my team actually know I've been working on this, so for posterity I'm going to do a little explanation on how this works and kind of the history behind it, but try and keep it brief. Let's start with the basics. I'm not going to explain what a model is because I'm sure you know, but an animation is a set of movements that is applied to said model. They're applied onto what is usually called a bone. And a bone is like you have a bone in a human body. It's a bunch of joints and connections that when you move your arm up and down, your bone moves this way. You bend your elbow, you change the angle, all sorts of things. And that's naturally how an animation is applied. It's a list of movements for the bone specifically so that it can make the whole body move, right? Now there's a big problem with animations in Gary's mod and, well, the source engine in general, and that comes down to the fact that you can't actually put new animations onto the model without it being made with those animations, or a reference file somewhere that the model loads has the animations added onto it. So this means that if you wanted to actually add animations to existing models, you would need to have recompiled it, remake the model, or you need to overwrite the file that it's listening to for said animations, which causes a bunch of problems. Now, we released the wiltOS animation base way back to try and be a solution to that problem and also give me some help in adding animations to Gary's mod. I mean, you don't have to be a tech wizard to know that if you can only add animations by overwriting the same exact file, well, you end up with a bunch of problems with people overwriting them, or even the game just rejecting to load it because it happens to be an older version or something like that. But even having that base is a limitation. I mean, people still need to rely on that base, and you still have the problem of overwriting. You just give somebody an instrument to be able to put them in themselves with more options that aren't overwriting it. But the core mechanic is still the same. You still need to overwrite it. And that is one of the key things that I wanted to solve with this new global animation base. To put it simply, if animations are just a list of motions, this new global animation base that I'm working on will essentially extract that list and interpret it so that it can be applied directly to the bone. There's a lot of technical talk about how to get that working, and that's something that when I release the base, maybe go into more detail on, because it's a real trick to have that working not only properly, indistinguishable from the default way of operating them when they're being read, directly from their model or list file, but being able to do it in an optimized way that doesn't kill the server when maybe 100 people try to use those animations. Because one thing that this will always have a disadvantage of is that when you write an add-on on top of Gary's mod, right, the base code, the ones that exists within the engine, will always be more optimized than the code that is being added onto the top with an add-on. So that requires you to be a little bit more optimized, a little bit more precise with the ways you want to do things. And honestly, with how far I'm in so far, I can't say that it's fully optimized, but I will say that it's very promising. It almost is indistinguishable from the actual method that's being used when it's done through the engine. And that, again, is a whole technical talk, but that's something that looks good. Really, the exciting part isn't even that you could load those animations live, because in all honesty, if you know what Pack 3 is, you've seen that there's an editor integrated, and you can actually run the animation that you make live on your player model, right? Well, there's a bit more to it than that. There's a reason this is called the global animation base and not just an animation base. What if I told you you could load any animation from any game, so long as they're structurally similar, and it would just work on the fly. And you could even go into the editor and change that animation live, just like you would with your own animations in Pack, and see the difference. What if on top of that, you don't even have to use a player model? You could use an NPC model, a prop, a ragdoll, anything, so long as it does have some sort of similarities with the bone. Who's to say you can't do it? And that is why this is a global animation base, not just a regular one. One of the key features here is to be able to take a structure from a completely different game, say Apex Legends, and line up the bones so that, let's say, the wrist on an Apex Legends model would have all the movement mirrored to a player model, like, I don't know, one of the counter-terrorists from Counter-Strike. That's the whole point. That's the objective of something like this. NPC support is the tricky part, because if you've ever used an NPC, you know that you can shoot the model, but the actual collision for the target won't be the exact position of their hands. It'll be a box surrounding the model, which will, you know, that's their hitbox, as simple as that. So this also adds some extra features, like having a fully modular hitbox that will actually adapt to the animations as well. And speaking of hitboxes, one of the big things here is that with the wiltOS animation base, the original one, you could run the animations on both server and client, allowing it to be synchronized so that when you actually shoot somebody's arm, you hit their arm. It's actually one of the most fundamental aspects of the lightsaber system, being that if you were to swing your lightsaber, the trace or the blade of the lightsaber would be accurate to where you're swinging because it's running on the server. With Pack 3, you can't do that. Pack 3 runs entirely client side, so when you're doing the animation, you're not updating any of the positions on the main server, the one that actually does the validation of the hits. On top of that, if you did try to overwrite Pack 3 and move it onto the server, you would be hit with the biggest performance costs, because Garry's Mod has this internal thing about networking those, and it kills the person and the server when it has to do that, especially because it has to do that for every player on the server, so it's synchronized. So this global animation base can allow you to do the exact same thing you could do with the wiltOS animation base, but on top of that, be able to reap all the benefits of live editing, retargeting, all sorts of things. Honestly speaking, I think this is one of my best works, and it's probably going to be my magnum opus. I really can't see how I can top it. But yeah, honestly, it's just such a great thing to be working on, and like, not for working on it, but to think about all the things developers can do with it. I mean, with the wiltOS animation base, I already saw people make such cool add-ons, like a Dark Souls game mode, or like there's just actually this whole RPG thing that somebody made, and it looked incredible. Some anime stuff like One Punch Man, Avatar, all sorts of things. And I've tested the animation, the global animation base, with a bunch of different games like Gears of War, Apex Legends, Jedi Knight Academy, even Mountain Blade. All of it does work. So it's going to be really cool to see what a developer can do with a tool so powerful in their hands. I think I'm going to cut the video there. It's a little shorter than the other ones. There's a lot to say, but it's a lot more technical stuff to say. So really, if you guys want to see the animations I've ported, I don't think it's that exciting, because to me, it's the application that's more exciting, you know? But if you are into that, just leave me a comment. I'll happily make a separate video, just an isolated video showing off all the different animations. And if, you know, you can come by the Discord, you can talk to me. And you know what? That's going to be it for this video. I appreciate everybody listening. I appreciate the people watching and commenting. We didn't have much comments last video. I don't think I even got any comments last video. But please, by all means, come on in, leave a comment. I do respond to them. I do take the feedback at heart. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. You gotta say it. It's part of the quota. You know, blah, blah, blah. And you guys just take it easy.